Hi there. Welcome to another presentation of the Globe Sound Healing Conference. Now we have Bruce Lipton. Hi, Bruce.
David, I'm so happy I'm here with you. I so appreciate what you're doing, bringing knowledge to the world. Knowledge is power. So thanks for empowering the public, my friend.
Hey, welcome, welcome. So nice to have you here. So, Bruce is a biologist and lecturer. He's also internationally recognized leader in bridging science and spirit. Bruce was on the faculty of the University of Wisconsin School of Medicine and later performed groundbreaking stem cell research at Stanford University. He's the best-selling author of The Biology of Belief, The Honeymoon Effect, and co-author with Steve Behrman of Spontaneous Evolution. Bruce received the 2009 prestigious Goya Peace Award in Japan in honor of his scientific contribution to world harmony. Excellent. What have you been up to lately?
Enjoying every day of life as I possibly can, no matter how crazy those people are out there. I'm not buying into it.
Well, I think that if you want to change the world, that's the number one thing to do based on resonance, right?
Yeah, well, changing the world, everyone goes, oh, let's go out there and crusade. And I go, the old hippie days, the saying was, before you go out and change the world, take care of your own backyard. And
Right,
that's where
right.
we got to start.
And don't forget to get happy and joyful too. Okay, so I got the big question. What if you had all the money in the world, what would you do to help people?
Knowledge is power. And what we need is more knowledge available to the public. Public has not been given a full insight about how the world works because there are people who control that information and that knowledge with the idea of extracting the power out of it. And so what I would do is really have everybody wake up and see that we are really, really, truly creators of this world. Even though if you look at the world and go, I wouldn't have created this mess, I go, well, you may not have wanted to create that mess, but you have been participating in creating that mess. And if it's a wake up call, you can get out of it. And that's what I'm looking for.
It seems like it's the number one thing to be able to control your mind to be able to manifest what you want in alignment with spirit, right?
But yeah, well, that's the idea. Look, quantum physics is the most valid of all the sciences on this planet. Okay. And what's really interesting, even from day one, 1927, Max Planck recognized that consciousness is creating our life experiences. And this has been verified since 1927 over and over again. And it's really hard for people to understand. Well, if consciousness is creating my life experience, and how come this mess? Because it's not what I really want to create. And there's a great story about the unknown creator that lies within you. And apparently, this might be a topic that we'll talk about.
Well, I there's a basic I was a physics major at UC Berkeley, right? There's a basic law of physics that says a strong vibration will overcome a weaker vibration and entrain the weaker into the stronger. And that means the number one problem on our planet is mass consciousness. It's
Yes.
a mess.
Yeah.
It's a
Well, it's
mess.
interesting because what I saw was my basic research back in, when I started doing some of this, 1967. I was working with stem cells, which are embryonic cells in your body. And my research revealed that what I was teaching medical students, which was, oh, genes control life, was a total false insight, totally wrong. Genes control nothing, which is like, really? After everybody's been programmed in the whole world to see that genes? No, I say no. Genes control nothing. Genes are blueprints to make the body parts called proteins, which are the building blocks of this body. And I go, well, why, what's unique about it? I say, well, it's a blueprint. And I go, so what? I go, a blueprint has no on and off. You go into an architect's office and she's working on a blueprint. You say, is your blueprint on or off? And she would look at you like, what are you, crazy? It's a blueprint. There's no on and off. I go, yes. I say, so genes are blueprints. The belief that they turn on and off is 100% false, which means you've been programmed with a misperception that genes turn on and off and control the character of your life, and you don't control the genes, which makes you then a victim of your heredity. And my research revealed 100% false about that, that it's your consciousness that activates the gene blueprints, and not just activates them, but can actually change the readout of those blueprints, just like an architect can look at a plan and then cross this out and make this and that and do all the changes. Our consciousness can look at your gene blueprints and then change the readout of those gene blueprints to accommodate what you want to create. And so the first thing I thought, oh my God, our consciousness is creating our biological life experiences. And that was really cool. That led to the book Biology of Belief. As I was putting Biology of Belief together, I said, well, wait a minute. What happens if a large number of people share the same consciousness? And all of a sudden I said, oh my God, that's where culture comes from. Culture is a group of people sharing a set of common beliefs that then they manifest as a reality. When the beliefs change, the reality changes as well. And that's why we've been through several versions of civilization that have come and gone. And we're in a stage of civilization that is failing at this moment and is on the way out with the introduction of a new version, which is really connected to the work that you're familiar with, David, in regard to vibration and tone and energy and all that, because we're leaving behind a materialistic view of science. Matter is primary. No, matter is not primary. Energy is primary. Vibration is primary. And we have to change this view of not focusing on the material world, but start recognizing and focusing what is our consciousness, our brain vibration manifesting, because it is consciousness that is creating this reality.
Okay, so the whole question is, what do we do with our consciousness? Right? I mean, I think, okay, I've interviewed Jeffrey Martin, who has microtubules that can bring you into a state of oneness.
That's not blah, 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 blah.
Or we could do love.
That's
We
not
could do
right. That's
universal.
not right. It's not microtubules. That's a BS answer that hey, look at it this way. Half the biomass on this planet doesn't even have microtubules, okay? And yet
Okay.
they're very conscious entities. So the point is, can you
He's
explain
using he's using ultrasound to entrain you into a state of oneness, and he can show it when he's with the EEG map. He can show when you're there, and he's mapped it all to
Yeah, but
different.
that's not microtubules.
Okay,
Those are
regardless, ultrasound.
receptors. Those are receptors, vibration receptors on the surface of the cell that are making
Okay,
the response. Okay.
okay,
Microtubules, if anything, are like wires that connect the perception, which are the proteins, to the functions inside the cell. But the microtubules are not the basis of consciousness at all. It's the proteins that are the basis of
okay.
consciousness.
So the question is, should we just run more love? Should we run more? Let's do universal love. That's like a good one, right? Or should we just do gratitude? Or should we,
Why
I
not
mean,
both?
or all of them, right?
Why
Just
not all of them?
anything that's not chaotic, right?
Yeah. Well, this is what the point is. If you change your consciousness, you change your life experience. And then all of a sudden it says, well, then my consciousness is creating. I go, yes, this is the foundation of quantum physics. Principle number one, quantum physics. Consciousness is creating your life experience. Max Planck said that in 1927. Yeah, I like it. There's a more recent article in the journal Nature, 2016. Nature, just to emphasize, is the most prestigious scientific journal on this planet. And there was an article by a quantum physicist from Johns Hopkins, Richard Conn Henry. The article was entitled The Mental Universe. I bring this up in my lectures and I don't show them the contents of the article because I just show them the last sentence. I go, it's in the last sentence. And the last sentence reads as follows. The universe is immaterial. Well, that's the basis of quantum physics, that atoms are energy. It's not made out of matter. So it reads, the universe is immaterial. It's mental and spiritual. Live and enjoy. That's from the heart of the most valid science on the planet. It's like spirituality? Why? Because when I was in the medical profession, you couldn't even use the word consciousness. Spirituality was way farther out from that. We were never allowed to. I was writing in a paper the role of the mind, and they made me take it out because it had to deal with consciousness. They said, you can't write that in there. Why? it was a material science. It's the genes and the blah blahs and so. But once I started to get onto the quantum mechanics, which of course you were programmed with, it changed the whole meaning of everything. And the reason why is, well, in Newton's time, they called the smallest particles of the universe atoms, which came from a Greek guy called Democritus. Greek word atom translates as uncuttable. So the word atom means the smallest uncuttable, you couldn't cut it anymore, smallest piece of the universe. Well, it was looked at as sand grains, like microscopic, invisible sand grains that when you put them all together create this physical world. About 1895, they started to look and say, well, wait, what's inside that atom? Ah, protons, electrons, neutrons, the familiar
Whole flow
little,
system.
the little solar system of electrons spinning around in the nucleus and all that. Oh, smaller particles. I go, yeah. But by 1927, they said, what the heck were those smaller particles made out of? And that's when the world changed, because it was turned out that they're made out of energy vibration. They're vortices of energies like nano tornadoes. And so I said, wait, the parts of the atom, electrons, protons, neutrons, are made out of energy. I go, yeah. And then they come together and make molecules. I go, yeah, but molecules are energy. Yeah, but molecules make bodies. I go, yeah, but bodies are energy. Why? Bottom line, this physical appearance is an illusion. An illusion. It was interesting. Albert Einstein quote is, reality is merely an illusion, albeit a persistent one. And I go, well, what does it mean? I say, well, you can see me. And I say, but energy's invisible. So how the heck can you see me? I'm made out of energy. And I go, because your body is invisible. But then how can you see me? And the answer is, and I always say, and then the audience laughs, and I say, you can see me because the lights are on. Oh, I go, no, you don't get it. I say, what? Photons of light, when they hit the energy body, are deflected back. So you don't see me. You see a veneer of photons coming from the light source that are reflected back. You see the outline of my energy. You don't see me. The new scans, CAT scan, MRI scans like that, they read energy. They look right through the body and they can see. And I say, what do they see? They see all the structures, the bones, the muscles, the tendons, the nerve cells. They see it. I go, yeah, but the scan system doesn't read matter. The scan system reads energy vibrations. So I go, well, wait, then my body is a whole series of energy vibrations that look like my body. I go, yeah, that's what it is. And the point was, matter is an illusion of light. And I go, and what else? I said, well, then people would say, yeah, but Bruce, if in the dark I come up and I touch you, I can feel you. You must be made out of matter. I go, no. The atoms are made out of vortices, a vortex of energy spinning like a nano tornado. I go, well, look at the big tornado for a second. I say, what? I say, get in your car, drive straight through a tornado. Go see if you can drive through a tornado. And the answer is, the moment you get close to that tornado, the force of that tornado will lift you up and throw you away. I say, yeah, but the tornado is just a wind force. It's not physical. I say, it's just a force, no physicality to it. And I say, what? It can smash your car. It can throw it away. I say, but atoms are nano tornadoes. I go, yeah. So when you push on me, you can feel me, but what you're feeling is the tornado force pushing back on you from atoms. Atoms are forces, and they vibrate. And all of a sudden, David has a whole career of vibration and sound and all that because the atoms are made out of energy vibrations.
Okay. So let me give you a little framework and let you fill in the atom part because that's kind of the missing part here. Because, many spiritual traditions say that the whole universe, including the body, is music.
Yes.
Right? So this is the way I've been thinking of it. So, first of all, and it's a little detailed. So the cells are like frequencies.
They
The
are. Not like
A
they
bunch
are.
of cells make up a timbre, which is a organ. The relationship between the organs is a musical interval relation. The relationship between the cells is a musical interval relationship. And I believe that musical interval relationship is a template of perfection for a human, whereas even if the frequencies are different. But then there's the musical flow through the system. Smooth flow. If you don't have smooth flow through your nervous system, you're going to be shaky. If you don't have smooth flow through the circulatory system, you can have a heart attack. It's all about smooth flow without blockages. But then you can zoom in on the cell. Instead of being a frequency, it's a flow system. And it's got its parts, which could be frequencies, right? Which are
Well,
frequencies.
every
And
part, if you say part, you're mentioning what appears to be physical,
mhm.
which is an illusion because every part is actually
Right,
energy.
right,
Okay.
right. So, but if you get down to the vortex level, it's interesting because I started thinking about a long time ago. I started thinking about what is the song of a Taurus, right? There's a certain tempo that it rotates at, and so it's going to have its own frequency. And I would think those Tauruses have their own tempo itself if you were to zoom in, or spin rate if you were to zoom in on them, right?
Yeah.
So okay. So can we measure those tornadoes?
Well, we certainly can measure the force of them. I mean, this is what the scan systems are doing in some degree. They can tell you how much force you're putting in and what the response is to what we perceive are the structures of the cell. They change based on the energy you're putting in, and the scan can read that. So you can get a reading of what energy is coming in and out of the system at any particular time.
Cool. Without killing the person too.
Oh yeah, you don't have to kill it. Then the
Cool.
vibrations are
Well, this
slightly
is very
different.
cool. So we can take the what type of microscope is it?
Electron, which one?
That would measure the vortex.
Oh, these are scan systems. Well, there's a new microscope that reads vibrational frequencies from atoms. Okay,
Okay.
and it's a tuned a filament that normally would light up something. The filament is a vibration that activates harmonic vibrations, and then you can see the reaction.
And that's
Okay.
not the Raman spectroscopy. That's
No,
something
no,
more
this is
advanced.
it's a special electron microscope that does energy fields.
Cool. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking, and then this will lead into what you do really well. So I'm thinking if we can take that electron microscope and map out every not only the cells but the vortex of the cells for every single part of the body, 70 trillion cells, right? Then we can start mapping out the musical interval relationships, and we can get that template of perfection and resonate you into that. But that's just the physical side. Then we do that mentally with brainwave. We
Yeah.
do it emotionally, and then we do it spiritually and at the quantum level.
Yes.
Yes?
True.
And then everybody's healed and there's no more disease.
That's the end state. Yes, as a matter of fact, but then of course they're not healed. And people have such a lack of knowledge of energy in our world because the civilization we're in is given the name scientific materialism. The emphasis, of course, was materialism. And this was when Newton's work founding physics uh, separated the universe into an invisible energy realm and a physical mechanical realm. But with the idea is they don't interact with each other. Matter affects matter, energy affects energy, but energy and matter don't interact. So in a Newtonian world, yeah, they're invisible things, but ignore them. They're not relevant to our physical reality. So we focus then on materialism with the throwing out of the invisible is not relative to the material. Now, when quantum physics comes in and says, well, the material realm is an illusion because it's all energy and vibration, then that invisible realm, which was not considered, now becomes the overriding shaper of what we perceive as the physical realm. So, an Einstein quote that is very critical to this is, well, let's bring the word field in. Quantum physics, energy fields. What the hell is a field? Well, in a simple definition, invisible moving forces that influence the physical world, a field.
Which can be coherent or not coherent, right?
Well, that's where the influence comes in, which way the influence is involved. Okay, so um, Einstein's quote: "The field is the sole governing agency of matter." And all of a sudden, the field, which was left out of Newtonian physics completely, in quantum physics, not only is it brought in, but it's brought in above what we perceive as the physical plane. So everything is energy, vibration, and field. Now, the issue is this: there are things that broadcast energy, by intention. There are things that just have innate energy. Uh, it's interesting because the Asians were way ahead of us in this. They had something they understood as feng shui. I said, what's feng shui? Well, they understood that physical objects are physical, but they also had physical objects were energy. And that by putting energy like crystals in certain positions, you can generate an energy field. So feng shui says, yeah, we'll put this here and put that there, and you can create this field. Okay. So feng shui is a real thing, but its main parameter is to measure the fields of what are perceived as objects. Okay.
It's interesting when you talk about that, I think of feng shui as mostly musical interval relationships in a room, right? Whereas
Yeah.
you can also create a field. This is what I think of it, is you can create a field with frequency that's chaotic, fear, anger, or stable, which are the vowels.
The sine wave.
Or you can look at it from the music level, where you got a rough flow, or a smooth flow,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so you can work at and those create fields as well, which are all about coherence. And where I've come to is really all about peace.
Harmony.
Peace, well, at harmonies at the interval level. Peace at every level. You can have peace at the frequency level, peace at the interval level, and peace at the flow level. But peace is what it's all about, and that could be peace could be smooth flow, right? Because
Yeah.
that's what health is, and that's what creates more, just health. I mean, maybe there's a component of excitement.
Well, yeah, there is. There's negative excitement and positive excitement. But
Right, right.
having a negative,
Versus
negative excitement is like,
woo.
it depends if you're reading it, you
Uh,
know? And it's basically everything vibrates, everything is an energy source. That energy is invisible, it comes in waves. And you can visualize it if you drop a rock into the water. The energy, the kinetic energy of the falling rock is transmitted to the water as a force. It shapes the water into the shape of the energy, which are the ripples. Okay. You're not seeing the energy, you're seeing the force of the energy shaping the water into that. Well, energy is invisible, but as we just mentioned, photons of light, if they hit an energy, source, could be bounced back, and so you can see an object, but you're not seeing the object. You're just seeing the photons on the surface of that object being reflected back. Now, the idea about this is everything vibrates. I go, yeah, but here's the important part: we left the mind out of biology because the mind has consciousness to it. I go, yeah, but what the hell is consciousness? Well, it's a vibration. But in the world of Newtonian physics, who gives a damn about the vibration? It's not relevant. It's the molecules, it's the proteins, it's the DNA. I go, even those are energy. That's the illusion that they're not catching. And I go, but what's important about it? We broadcast energy. I go, what do you mean you broadcast energy? I say the brain, it takes in light, but it converts it into vibration. You don't see light, you see the vibration inside. Taste, smell, touch. These are inputs from a physical mechanism, but the brain translates it into vibration. So we read vibration, okay? And the brain broadcasts this vibration. I go, what do you mean? I say, well, If I put wires on your head, I could read your brain vibrations. It's called electroencephalograph, EEG. Okay. And I go, yeah, that's the vibration of the brain working because the brain fires signals in electronic fields. It's all energy vibration. Okay. I go, yeah, but so what? I go, well, that means my thoughts are in my head. I go, yes, they are. Until there was another way to read brain vibrations. I go, what? I said, well, EEGs, you put the wires on, you're getting conduction of the energy up through the skull and the skin, and I'm reading the internal electric energy of the brain function. But there's another process called magnetoencephalograph. It doesn't read the energy, it reads the magnetic fields, but it reads the same thing because electromagnetic fields, it's the whole thing. I say, yeah, but what's unique? The probe is out here. I say, what are you doing? I said, I could read your brain vibrations out here. Well, then what does that mean? You're broadcasting vibrations. Your brain's a tuning fork, and it broadcasts energy fields. And then, as David's quite aware of, and most people are, energy can interact with energy.
Yeah,
So
receiving it as well. The big problem is a lot of people are just taking in whatever's around them instead of creating their own stable, consistent vibration.
No, because they don't even recognize they're broadcasting a vibration. So it's like, oh, no, my thoughts are in my head. I go, no, they're not. They're broadcast to the field. And energy of thoughts interacts with the energy of the field. And then there are two extremes of energy interactions. They're called interference. And I say, well, what do you mean? I say, two energies that are in harmony with each other, if they come across each other, they then add up. That's called constructive interference, meaning two low energies can come together in harmony and create a higher energy. I go, oh, well, that's called constructive interference, called good vibes. That's what the vibe, you're feeling the vibration. So one form, constructive interference. Two harmonious energies add up, make greater energy. Then there's destructive interference. What's that one? When two energies are out of harmony, one going up, one going down the waves. Excuse me. When two energies out of harmony come together, they can cancel each other.
Make you disappear, actually.
Yeah, it's called destructive interference.
Phase cancellation and sound, the sounds actually disappear completely.
Absolutely. That's how do noise canceling earphones work?
Exactly.
They sample the noise and then they play the noise back out of phase. So as the noise coming in is going up in vibration, the earphone is going down in vibration. Put those two together, cancellation, no sound at all. So noise cancellation is destructive interference, which is called in life experiences, because life is based on energy, bad vibes. Good vibes, more energy. Bad vibes.
I think of it more as chaotic versus stable, consistent as far as good or bad. Because you can have two chaotic vibrations that come together and they could totally be in phase and actually create more chaos.
Yeah, I agree with you because you're right in physics and you're the smart guy and I'm the biology guy. So I agree with you, David.
Well, check this out. Okay, so I do a class on how to transform negative beliefs. I want to see what you think about this because it seems like negative beliefs are the big problem, right? I am not good enough. And I'm going to transmit that out to the world. And the world, being the beautiful resonant being it is, goes, okay, I'm going to support that and bring that to you completely. You're definitely not good enough.
That is the whole story of the creation. What are you broadcasting? And if you change the broadcast, you change the life experience. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Well, what's the broadcast? Your thought. What's your thought? That's an energy field. So you're changing a thought, you're changing the energy, you're changing the constructive, destructive interference patterns of the world around you, and you're selecting things that will empower you or canceling things which disempower you. Nice. When you understand it, then you are the actual controller of your life experience.
Yeah.
But if you have no understanding of this, then it seems like everything is an accident.
You
I
know,
don't know
so
why that happened. I go,
it's
there was no accident.
okay. So I've been reading Alice Bailey, the spiritual teacher, right?
Yes,
And and it's really, she's saying that most people are focused in their emotional body, and that's the controller of everything, the roller coaster, right? And very few people have advanced to the stage of being controlled with their mind to be able to be in control. And it seems like that's really important. It's not about being in your head, because a lot of people think, oh, you think we should just be in the head and not feel. No, you should be in control and not allow yourself to go into these chaotic vibrations that you're broadcasting.
I was just when I was younger, there was a show called the Bob Newhart Show. He was a comedian and he played a psychologist. And no matter who the patient was and whatever other complaint was, blah 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 blah, his answer was exactly the same for every one of the people that came in. He said, "Just stop it, stop it. You're generating this. Stop it." And that was actually the truth. You can stop the damn reality by changing the vibration you're putting out into that reality.
Okay, but
Very
what
important.
about?
Let me just add
Okay,
this one second.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Um, there people are called esoteric astrologers, and I go, what are they? Well, they work at a higher level of astrology than the average person reading astrology stuff, newspaper astrology like that. I say, what's unique about them? Before they do a reading on anybody, they first have to assess the consciousness of the person. And I go, why? Because as you become more consciousness, you become less predictable. I go, why? Because the energy fields that they're reading, which impinge on the individual who are not conscious, they're going to respond to these energy fields. But when a person becomes conscious, remember, they're broadcasting energy. They can broadcast a destructive interference that cancels an energy. They can broadcast a constructive interference that enhances an energy. So rather than being blind to the energy fields around it, as people become more conscious, they can manipulate the energy fields around them. As a result, you can't predict them astrology wise because they can change the field through their own brain vibration and are free then of that commitment to a field like lower organisms, like the swallows come back to Capistrano on a certain day, like, they don't have a calendar. They're reading the vibration of what's going on. The turtles come on the beach on a certain day to lay their eggs. Not a coincidence. It was timing of the vibrational fields. And now we know that the interesting part, because there is a connection with astrology and biology. Do I have a minute to talk about that, David? Just real quickly?
Yeah, go.
Okay. Snails are bottom feeders, and their design is to always eat in a spiral. And the reason why is then they don't overgo the same tracks every time. They're always going out farther and farther and getting fresh, ground. So they turn in a spiral. And this particular field, snails that were being studied have a right turn spiral. And I said, how do you know that? I said, well, they run them down a trough. And at the end of the trough, there are right and left channels. And what they found is when the snail runs down the trough, it always goes to the right. It doesn't take the left channel, except on the new moon. I go, what happens
Whoa.
then? What happens then? It's 50-50. It's random. I go, what the hell caused that? Well, they created an artificial geomagnetic field. And on the new moon, they turned that field 180 degrees off of the conventional field. And guess what? Then the snails continue going to the right. What was the point? The moon's activity altered the reading of the magnetic field, and the snails were responding to the field to determine which way they're going. And on the new moon, it randomized the field, and that's why they could go right or left on the new moon. But on a regular time, they always go to the right because that's the field. And so it says, well, wait, the moon was changing the response to the magnetic field of the Earth, which then changed the behavior of the snail. I go, yeah, that's called astrology. That's
Wow.
exactly how it was working. It was changing the response of the field to which the organisms are adjusting themselves.
I mean, based on heart math, there's also the solar flares. There are all the cosmic rays coming into the atmosphere, which is unbelievable. I realized that after interviewing Rowan McCready,
Yeah.
the it's zero point 0.1 hertz is the main frequency vibrating in our atmosphere. Well, they say at HeartMath that that's the frequency your brain goes into when you're running love.
Well,
So it's
yeah, I
it's
guess basically this, the brain is a generator of a field. As I said, you can read it with electroencephalograph wires, or you can read it broadcast via the magnetoencephalograph. As a generator of a field, it influences all the surrounding fields. And this is where the quantum physicists say consciousness is creating your life experiences because how you're adjusting the field is how you're going to experience that field. And all of a sudden it says, oh my goodness, then in that case, if I understood this, then I can adjust the field to make it work in my benefit versus random chaos, whatever's going on. And then
I
all of a
think
sudden you become empowered
I
with
think the
consciousness.
number one is to go to a place of peace where that actually things open up because peace is a portal to other dimensions where you're one with the universe, right?
Yeah.
But also here, okay, here's the big question. The big question is some people say let go and let God, and other people say nope, you have to be in control of your consciousness and not allow it to go awry.
Well, that's two alternative opinions. Yeah, not the same. You want me to put what I
Yeah,
would
yeah. What do you think about that? Because that's a
let
big
go of the
question.
God?
Because most people are going, "Oh, this is just the way I feel. At least I'm feeling. It may suck and it may be putting out a bad vibe, but at least I'm feeling right." Whereas other people are going, "Why hurt yourself?" And others,
Well, it's unfortunate because basically, and it's interesting, who was, when I started talking about this stuff early on about the fields and generating, okay, you know who were the biggest people that were angry with me were these fundamentalist Christians. I go, why? Because they said, "Oh, no, that's God's job to control you. You don't change, you don't control you. Let go of your idea. Let God run the show." I said, "Well, God's like astrology, isn't it? It's just like if I let go, I'll be moved around by astrological forces, okay? But if I'm in control, then I can change those forces. And if I change those forces, then I'm going to create the path that I want to be on and not be a victim of a field controlling me, which is what happens to unconscious people because the fields, they're unrecognizable to them, not influenced by them. They don't even recognize them. And as a result, are being controlled by that field. And yet, when you become conscious, it's like, well, I don't like that field. I say, well, okay, then cancel it because you can put out a vibe that will do destructive interference, and then that vibe's not going to work on you anymore. So I'm not the let go, let God, because then all of a sudden it says, then I'm just a mindless animal being controlled, just like why the turtles came on the beach or why the swallows came back to Capistrano. They're not thinking about that. They're just being controlled by that.
yeah,
And the idea is if you become aware, then you free yourself from that environmental control. And then you become the person, the individual that determines what path you want to go on versus letting the vibration tell you the path that you're going
yeah.
on.
I think the key is I kind of think of it as the mind connected to source or spirit, right? Because you can,
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
and I often think of it also as spiritual will, where you're making change in alignment with source. Because
yes.
I mean, you can do the mind, and you can actually totally screw things up, right?
Well, it depends if you're been. Look, a little backstory we need here right now is the brain is a computer. Okay, it's the most advanced computer humans have ever dealt with in this universe. Okay, I go, so what? I said, but it is a computer and it works on the same foundation that laptops work. I go, what do you mean? I say, Well, let's go back in the old days. You buy a brand new laptop, you take it home, you plug it in, you push start, and it boots up. The screen lit up. I go, okay, let's use it. And you go, I can't. I say, you just bought a brand new computer with me. You can't use it. Oh, first I have to put programs in. Oh, then I use the hard drive and I download the programs. But once the programs are in, then I can use the keyboard, which is me putting data into the computer. Okay. So consciousness, the mind has conscious and subconscious. Conscious is the one that types on the keyboard and puts its information in what we want to do. Subconscious is program. It just plays whatever the hell the program is. Okay. Well, we all got programmed. And that happens in the first 7 years because you can't use the damn brain computer unless you first put the programs in it. After age 7, consciousness now can type on the keyboard and add its data and wishes and what into the computer through the keyboard. Well, the problem with this is the mind, which is connected to spirituality, which we can talk about because I never believed in it as a biologist, but I saw it and it was like, changed my life. We'll get to that maybe. But the point about it was that what happens is the conscious mind, which can type on the keyboard and create your life, conscious can create, okay? The conscious mind can do two things, and the two things don't work in harmony with each other. The conscious mind could look out your eyes like looking out the windshield of the vehicle and drive you toward conscious mind, wishes and desires. If I'm operating from conscious mind, I can get wishes and desires. But the conscious mind can think. What does that mean? Thinking is not looking out. Thinking is looking in. So if you're looking in, then conscious mind is disconnected from the outside world. Your conscious mind, when it's thinking, does not pay any attention to what's going on outside. I would say, well, what if you're driving the car? I go, well, guess what? You do it all the time. You don't seem to crash the car, but you're not paying attention. I said, then what's controlling? I say, program. When the conscious mind is thinking, the default is subconscious programs are autopilot and they take over. The subconscious knows how to drive the car better than you do after programming, okay? So the idea is, yeah, I could be thinking, but the subconscious is now going to drive the car. Let's say you and I are in the car, David. We're having this great conversation, blah, blah, blah. I'm going back and forth, back and forth. And then I look out the window and I didn't pay attention for the last few minutes when I was in this conversation with David. And of course, you don't want to say, hey, David, guess what? When we were talking, I didn't even look out at the road. Why? I was focusing on you. I go, you weren't looking at the road, Bruce? No. Hey, but we're still on the road. We're going the right speed limit. We're going the right place. How'd that happen? I say, subconscious knows how to drive the car and where the destination is. And so and this is important because let's say we just did this. I realized I didn't look out the car while I've been talking to you. Okay. And I get two questions. Question, Bruce, what did you and David talk about? We talked about the vibration of blah, 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 blah. Second question, what was on the road when you were having that conversation? I have no idea. I wasn't looking at the road.
Well, also this next level is what and when we were talking and thinking together,
Yeah.
were we just thinking and figuring stuff out, or were we tapping into a higher guidance while we were thinking so that we had a creative flow going?
You were connected to the higher guidance. Being conscious is what the higher guidance is. Conscious mind is connected to spirituality. Subconscious mind, hard drive, data, habits, programs. That's all it is. And so the question is, so if I'm thinking, then what's controlling? I say, when you're thinking, then your behavior is controlled by the programs. I go, well, this is a problem. I'll tell you why. Where did you get the programs? Oh, the first 7 years of your life as an infant, you have to learn the rules of how to be a member of a family. There's rules. You got to have rules to be a member of your community. I say, how does an infant going to learn the rules? They can't read the book. They can't go to school. I say, nature created the first 7 years of their life in a lower brain vibration called theta, which is hypnosis. So I say, I learned the programs of life by studying my father, my mother, and my community. I downloaded their programs. I go, yeah, well, you did. And guess what? Did they have your wishes and your desires in their program? Oh, no?
It
Oh, well,
wasn't
then
limited too.
your
Limited.
program's not going to offer that for you. Okay. Did they have a dysfunction? Oh, well, my father did. He had a dysfunctional relationship with my mother. So what did I learn about how to create a relationship? I watched my father. I go, then what? I tried to create a relationship. And guess what? My subconscious programs kept throwing a monkey wrench in it because I was playing my father's dysfunctional relationship programs. And all of a sudden it's like, well, I couldn't get a relationship for over 40 years. I say, what did I have to do? Well, first I had to find out, hey, I'm playing a program. And this program is sabotaging me and I'm struggling. And it's like, oh, well, then rewrite the program. Well, yes, I did. And now I've been, since then, 28 years in a honeymoon, not a short little honeymoon. I'm talking 28 years of honeymoon every day. Why? I rewrote the programs of relationship so that whether I'm using my conscious mind for wishes and desires to manifest them, or if I'm thinking, my new programs are the same as my wishes and desires. So I could be thinking and still succeeding because my programs are automatically doing that. Are you aware that you play programs? No. I go, what do you mean? I say, here's the standard thing. You have a friend, you know your friend's behavior, you happen to know your friend's parent. One day you see your friend has the same behavior as the parent. You gotta say it. You got, hey, Bill, you're just like your dad. Back away from Bill. I know what he's going to say. You know what he's going to say because you heard it. He's going to say, how can you compare me to my dad? I'm nothing like my dad. And here's the joke. Everybody else can see that Bill is exactly like his dad. Who's the one that can't see it? Bill. Why can he not see it? And here's the answer. Because when he's thinking, he's not looking out, so he's not observing the behavior. When he's thinking, he's inside looking for something. So when he's thinking and not controlling, the subconscious program steps in and then creates the behavior. My father's program would step in because I wasn't paying attention. When I was paying attention, I was running the show. But the fact, and this is an unfortunate number for many people to hear, 95% of the day is the amount of time we spend thinking. And I go, well, if that's true, then 95% of the day you are not controlling your behavior with your conscious creative mind with the wishes and desires. 95% of the day, your subconscious mind is taking the programs you downloaded and playing them while your conscious mind is inside looking for something. I go, oh. I said, then you can't see your own behavior. I go, no, because you're not looking out. I go, oh. I say, then what's the point? Everybody else sees the bad behavior and responds to your bad behavior, and you're the only one that doesn't even know you're playing bad behavior, so you perceive yourself as a victim. Oh, I'm a victim.
Okay, so moving forward,
Yeah,
seems like the whole thing is to be still enough to be able to see both, to see your behavior and see be present enough to be able to see the possibilities while you're thinking, and right, and
very
so
difficult.
yeah, it is
Very
difficult. The
difficult.
first thing I think about when you say that is it's doing two things at once. You're
Yes.
not just thinking, which is in only. You're thinking and out at the same time. So it's
You,
two things at once.
yeah, you have behavior from a program where your thinking is manifesting creativity. Okay. So when you're thinking, you're not looking out the window. And I go, yeah, but if you're driving the car, well, somebody's got to drive it. Well, the subconscious knows how to drive the car better than you, so it takes over. Subconscious is autopilot. 95% of the day, you are thinking. So 95% of the day, your thoughts are not controlling your life. Your programs are controlling your life. And here comes a big issue. It's like, well, wait, when did I get programmed? I said, just like a computer. Once it started to boot up, the next phase was programmed, 7 years. I go,
And that
why?
program, that 7 years came from many ancestors as well.
Because your parents were programming you with what they learned from
Right,
their parents, who
right.
learned it from their parents. So, for example, cancer was always thought to be considered due to a gene. There's not one gene that even causes cancer. They said, where the hell is the cancer coming from? Disharmony in the system, and then activating what are called cancer genes. Cancer genes do not activate cancer. They respond to a disharmony in the vibrational field, which then engages them. So, for
Okay.
example, women are concerned about the breast cancer gene, rightly so. But the issue is this: the gene doesn't cause cancer. Why? 50% of the women that have the gene don't get the cancer, and yet they have the gene. So, how do you explain that? And the answer is this: they don't engage the gene. I say, when does the gene engage? I say, in a state of disharmony, that gene will be activated. But the gene did not cause the disharmony. They're the consequence of the disharmony. And the cancer is the result of vibrations that are not in harmony, self destructive vibrations at some point.
Okay, so if I were to break it down to the simplest way to move forward, first I would say, ooh, right? I mean,
Right.
that's a stable,
But
consistent,
are
peaceful
you going to do
vibration.
that as a thought, or are you going to do that as a behavior? That's the two different things.
Ooh,
The behavior,
tell me
the
more.
thought is not a behavior. The thought is the concept. The behavior is engaging the thought.
So it becomes a lifestyle.
You can have great, wonderful thoughts and never experience any of it.
Uh-huh. But then the next step is to, I mean, connect to nature, the flow systems in nature. Then also, I mean, then it is just gratitude, compassion. Compassion's a big one. That's a big one. Love. And then if you can access ultimately oneness and a unity consciousness, then it's like, oh my God, right?
That's where I live, babes. I don't live here by accident. I live here by considered destination. What do I want in my life? I didn't just say, okay, I wonder where I'm going to live. No, what do I want? Then find that place and live in that place in a state of harmony. My first 30 plus 30 up to 40 years, I didn't live this harmony. I was living programs that allowed me to be a good scientist, but sure as hell didn't support me on any personal social level at all. So I was a good scientist in a bad relationship, you know? So change it. I said,
Yeah,
well,
but we have to give people credit because the biggest problem is the way the brain is built. Frickin' neural pathway ruts are really hard to change.
they're called habits, right? Is that not a habit?
Yeah,
Repeat the
yeah.
same thing over and over and over again.
Uh-huh.
Okay, well, you can change a habit by putting a new habit in there. Okay? There are three ways to change the habits. Two of them are the natural ways you got a habit. How'd you get a habit? First, 7 years, you were downloading behavioral programs by watching your family, your parents, watching your community, observing and downloading programs. Okay. Second, but that only works through age 7. Then I said, well, you still learned habits afterwards. You learned how to drive a car, play a music instrument, do all these other. I said, how'd you get those habits? I go, repetition, habituation. So the two natural ways is first self hypnosis, theta. Second is habituation, repetition of a pattern to keep, the more you repeat the pattern, the more it will download as a program. Okay. And the third way, which to me is the most exciting one because the first two take time. There's time to do those. Okay. The third way is you can change a program in 10, 15 minutes, walk away and be a totally different human from that moment right there. Really? Yeah. It's called super learning. I go, what's super learning? There's a line down the middle of the brain, and we call the two halves hemispheres. The hemispheres have different functions. Primarily on the left side is intellectual, words, and stuff like that. Okay. The right hemisphere is pictures and vision and emotions. Okay. I go, so I say I got intellectual, emotion, two different halves. Before age 7, both halves are not just integrated physically, but they're functionally integrated. A child under 7 is using both halves of their brain at the exact same time. So every experience has an intellectual component and an emotional component to it. Okay. After age 7, they don't physically disconnect, but they functionally disconnect. I go, what does it mean? It's called ultraradian, a pattern. I said, what's the pattern? For 2 or 3 hours, you're in the intellectual side, words, thinking, and all that. And then the next 2 or 3 hours, you're more in the emotional side than the feeling side. And then you're back into the intellectual side. It's a wave. Intellectual, emotional, intellectual, emotional. You're not in both of them at the same time. Well, the problem is the programmings require both of them at the same time. So the idea is, when did you have that? Before age 7. That was super learning. A child could learn something instantly, just hear it once, boom, it's in there. Okay. After age 7, a child in a home where there are 3 languages spoken in that home, under age 7, that child will learn all 3 languages. After age 7, you say, let's learn one new language. I go, now it's a hard job. It wasn't before 7, super learning. After 7, you got to work on a lot to do it. So I say, so if you could get back into what is called whole brain, function at the same time, then you could, just like that kid under 7, you could download a new program into that subconscious mind in 10, 15 minutes, usually at the most.
So one of the
Walk
coolest
away.
things that we do, of course, is brainwave entrainment, where we find your rhythm of your metabolism, where you're at peace, and we tune the music in delta, theta, alpha, and beta, and gamma to you.
Yeah.
And with left and right frequencies, of course, that does the left and right brain synchronization that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a Monroe Institute, isn't it? That's right.
Well, yeah, Monroe. Yeah, but Monroe doesn't tune it to the person.
No, but they did find that the difference in what was being heard.
Yeah, left and right brain. Yeah, they actually figured that out. That's really cool. It's especially good when it's tuned to the person because it can actually throw people off otherwise. And
Yeah,
there's other things. I mean, even playing an instrument requires left and right brain because you got to do the tech and the emotional at the same time, right?
yeah.
That's really interesting because it seems like with some brain research, I mean, we could, I mean, totally get people to be able to learn better.
Yes. The question is this, you ready? Who doesn't want you to learn better?
Oh,
Think about
oh,
that.
oh, oh,
Think
oh.
about that. Because if you learn better, you become empowered. If you're not empowered, then you're controllable. And the system does not want you to have your power, because if they can just get you to become a tech, hey, learn how to do this. It's a pattern. Repeat it. That's your job. Okay. Don't think. Thinking is not desired, because then you will get out of the program that they're manipulating.
Yeah,
Who are they? The 1%.
yeah,
How do you think they got all the money?
yeah. Well,
You
it's
know?
also a pattern that was like been in society for thousands and thousands of years.
There's power evolved in 3 different ways. The first power was physical. Whoever the badass guy was in that little family community, that's the one that said, this is what we're going to do. And everybody else, okay, we're going to do it. Okay. The second level of power came when somebody owned resources. Oh, you want some of this? You have to pay me for this. Okay. And then all of a sudden, the resource one who had the money actually hired the brawny one that had the power. And now that's called your police and your army. Okay. And then I say, so that's the second one. First one is physical power. Second one is resource control, power. The third one, knowledge is power.
Mm.
And this is when the Church of Rome acknowledged they have infallible knowledge, which means all power, all knowledge, the superpower. You never question the church. Because if you do, you're called a heretic. And then they paid that big brawny guy to kill you as a result of
I
that.
think the number one thing is that's such a major change on the planet for people not to get angry and upset over it, because then that is disempowering you more than you actually being disempowered by them.
100%. So the only way out of it is to become more conscious and not engage in the system. And I go, look,
Think for
Buckminster Fuller, he
yourself.
said, don't go in and try to change the system. It's got more power than you have. You're going to use that power, they'll just destroy you. You'll lose all your power. You want to do something, step outside, build a new system. That's where we are today. You want to survive what's going on here? We're failing. I say, what do you mean we're failing? We're facing a collapse of civilization. I go, oh, when is that? Well, according to NASA scientists, it's within the next 20 years. I go, why? Because A, the distribution of the wealth is in the 1%, the 99 don't have it. Okay. And wealth is energy. They've taken the energy out. When you take the money out, money is your source of energy. You want to do something, you have some money, you can do it. Okay. You got no money, you got no power. Okay. Number two, and this is critical, that to sustain the civilization that we have at this very moment, I'll just say, look, just keep it just the way it is today. It takes, listen to this, 1.6 planet Earths to provide the resources for today's civilization. Well, the math is simple. There is no extra 0.6 planet Earth. We're living beyond the means of the planet to support who and what we are, and in the process, destroying the environment from which we came. And we cannot be here if the environment's not here. And so we're destroying the web of life every day, using up the resources, polluting the air, the water, the ground, creating disharmony, competition, violence, fighting. This is, look, before we got here, there was a garden. I go, yeah, there was a garden. People weren't here yet. I go, what about a garden? You ready, David? This is the most important. A garden is not a battleground. A garden is the height of cooperation. I go, look what we have done to the garden. The battle that we create among each other, survival of the fittest, and
It's
the
even
competition.
built into our school system. I mean, it's all competition. I mean, Lynn McTaggart's book goes into it in detail, right? The whole fight,
Absolutely.
right? Yeah.
Competition is
Okay.
antagonistic.
We're
Uh,
almost out of time, but it
no, we're
seems
not
like
out of time because I want to say cooperation is not competition. Cooperation is the harmony that you talk about. It's the music that plays, not the noise. And that's why we have to move from competition into the new era, which is we have to start cooperating, not just with each other, but finally start cooperating again, once again, with the garden. The indigenous people, they already knew that 10,000 years ago. This is a garden, and we are gardeners. We lost that to come to the point we have dominion. We own the garden. I go, well, good for you. Look what you've done to it. You pushed us to the point we are not sustainable. And we either going to change and get back in harmony because the dissonance that is in this field right now is self destructive.
number one, think for yourself. Get to a place of peace and stillness so you can see those patterns that are running underneath. So you can start thinking for yourself. Because until you do that, there's no way you can ever get out of this system.
No, because you're 95% of your day, you're going to play those programs, their patterns, their programs, their habits, and you're going to repeat them and repeat them and repeat them because habits do not want to change.
Yeah. And until you get to a place of peace and stillness, you can't see a wider perspective.
No, you're going to just automatically, without even thinking, participate in the game in a very negative way because a habit is not thinking. Habit is just push the button, play the behavior. And thinking can change all that. But we're not thinking in a sense of the global part of who we are and how we are behaving. If you're thinking and just thinking, without recognizing, hey, while I'm thinking, I've been playing these very negative programs because I'm the one that hasn't paid attention, then thinking alone is not going to help. You have to be conscious of what we're doing out here.
I love it. Thank you.
I know
Thank you.
because you know the physics. The public does not know the physics. And what they don't know, a lot.
Or the
Knowledge is
biology.
power. Knowledge is power. A lack of knowledge is a lack of power. What they don't know disempowers the public.
It's funny, a lot of people say you think too much.
Well,
And that's like a dangerous thing. I mean, in a way, it's true, but in another way, you need to think more clearly and practice that thinking more clearly.
which means then you have to be conscious of what's going on through your thinking. But if you're just thinking and not paying attention, then it's not your life anymore. You are the program, you are the matrix. The movie The Matrix, as I always talk about, is not science fiction. It is a documentary that we've all been programmed. Yep, that's a reality beyond the movie. And the movie said you could take a red pill and get out of the program. I said most everybody in this audience has taken that red pill, even you, David, and you got out of the program. I say, what is that red pill that almost all of us have taken? I said, falling in love. Because when you fall in love, you stop thinking and you stay present. You stay mindful. You're aware of what's going on without thinking. Because if you're thinking, then you're not aware and the program's playing. But if you're in love, you stay in the present moment. You stop playing the program. I said, what was the result of not playing the program? In just 24 hours, your life changed. It was
Yeah.
blah, 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 blah. You fell in love. 24 hours later, it's like, oh, life is beautiful. I'm so in love. The food is great. The music's great. Oh, everything is great. I'm so in love. What the hell happened in 24 hours? You
Well, then,
stopped the
if once you
program.
once you learn universal love, then you're not at the mercy of that other person. Okay,
Oh,
so we were out of time, but
no, we're
you want
not.
to. We,
Oh,
I
it's
got
your
another.
program. Yes, we
Yeah.
are.
Okay, so I got. You want to hear the sound of universal love?
Yeah.
Okay.
I love you, David.
What a pleasure. What a pleasure. I love it. I love it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for letting me spout off here.
It's just perfect. Thank you for all the work you've done. Why don't you write some more books or something?
I actually have one more book, and I just hesitate for the longest 20 years, and that is A Theory of Evolution, not Darwinian theory. Darwinian theory is the destruction of what we have because it's all based on competition and lack. Things are lacking. It's like, no, they're not. That's a belief. And the idea is consciousness, not genes, is what determines our evolution. I don't care about the genes. I do care about what you're thinking because that's what's going to manifest the experience. Your thoughts, not your genes. And this is what we want to change. And you are a person who is bringing new thought. Not new, because it's 50, 60, 70, 80. Oh my God, it's almost 100 years old right now, that quantum physics stuff. But people are so unaware of it. And they don't, if they don't understand energy, then you don't understand anything about how this universe is working.
Thank you. Thank you.
I appreciate everything you're doing, David. Thank you very much. And thank you for letting me have this little soapbox.
I love it. I appreciate all the work you've brought to this world.
Thank you, David.
Take care.